everybody, Abs here with a bit of a different drawing time-lapse than what I normally do. I decided to go with an action pose instead of just one single character, and I don't really do action poses here on YouTube, and usually when I do sketch out action poses, like I said, I only sketch them. I never actually do finished products, but this time, I went with the finished product, see how well I could do, and I used both of my original characters. Well, not both. I have other original characters. The two of them. The guy I'm currently drawing, his name is Eider, and the other guy, his name is Harold. I just thought the name Harold fitted him so well. You'll see what he looks like in a little bit. You may see him a little bit in the top left. You can see my reference up there, but currently it's kind of just showing Eider. But I hope you guys like this a little bit better. I decided to screen record my iPad screen instead of just using the default Procreate recording. I'm not a big fan of the default Procreate recording because you can't see when I flip the canvas, you can't see my reference, you can't see my color picker, you can't see any of that, you can't see any of the tools I use, but this is a little better, and you get to follow me as I draw. This is basically what all the other art YouTubers do on YouTube. I just wasn't doing it, but now I'm doing it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm doing another voiceover. I didn't get any complaints in the last video, so I'm guessing my voice isn't too bad. Hopefully this quality sounds better. I wasn't as confident in my last video because I had just woken up actually when I did that. But I'll explain a little bit. You may see the Harold's got like a dagger thingy kinda, but basically my characters, I call them periodicals. Basically each character has an element based off of the periodic table that they control. So Harold, he's got the periodical platinum. He controls platinum metal. And my other character, Eider, which you will see me draw as periodical in a second, is a lot different than Harold's, a little more rare. It's liquid helium. And I know what you're thinking, like, how in the world does this work? Well, basically, I thought if characters are gonna have periodicals, they should be allowed to have it in solid, liquid, or gas form, as long as it's an element from the periodic table. There's some other rules, but I won't get into that. But liquid helium, I thought liquid helium would be really cool, and you know, things don't gotta be realistic. It's art, you know. Be creative, be expressive. So that's what I went with. The pose I got from Masters of Anatomy on Instagram, if you want to check out some of the other poses they have. That's some really good action poses. All the poses are done by people from Disney or Marvel, DC, Pixar. Those companies, people that work at those companies have made books for you to look at. I am currently waiting for some books to come in by them, but they got anatomy, character design, animals, all kinds of things. If you want to check that out, go check that out. And if you want to check out my Instagram, where you'll see more of my artwork, the link is in the description. Self-plug. Shameless self-plug. Anyway. Now, did spend a little time finagling the belt here. I noticed the belt buckle was huge. I was like, woo, that's a big old belt buckle, so I redid it a few times. Shrunk it down a little bit. I don't like taking the line art and just shrinking it, because then it gets like kind of blurry, and it just looks weird. I like my line art to look nice and crisp and easy to fill in, because I hate it when you gotta fill in your line art and then it fills in the entire page. Very annoying, although that does happen a few times. Whatever. Can't be perfect at everything, you know. But actually, a lot of time with this one. I actually I drew the pose like 4 times each. Like each of these poses 4 times. And then the final time I drew the clothing on top. But the other times they're just no clothing. I just wanted to make sure I got the anatomy right, which my anatomy isn't perfect, which is fine. Still learning. You'll keep learning forever, you know? You'll always keep learning about art. then the suit was interesting. I don't normally draw suits on people, but gave this guy a suit, so I have my little reference image. I guess we don't normally draw suits so much because they have a lot more wrinkles in them than like normal clothing because it's thick, hard fabric, so it wrinkles differently and more. But like soft, thin fabric actually has less wrinkles in a way. Like it's got more. This is different because it doesn't lay on the body. Doesn't have those planes where it's just like flat. It's either like bulky or wrinkly. Don't know how to really explain that. Coloring, finally. I like the coloring process is my favorite process. I always start with the background first if I have a background. I find it easier if you do the background, you set the color, you set the theme of the painting. It's easier for me to go in and make sure my characters blend in with the background so things don't look weird. Because I don't want to like end up completely coloring my characters and be like, oh, it doesn't fit the background I wanted. Whoops. Like I wouldn't be very happy if that happened. So I do the background first. I come back to the background like at the very end of the piece just to tweak things a little bit. Just I thought it was too much of that greenish blue in the background. I wanted a little more blue. And there was just a whole bunch of greenish blue in the painting, and I wasn't really a big fan. We're moving on. Flat colors for both of these characters. Starting with Eider. I did Eider first, mainly because I have a color palette for him, but Harold I literally have only ever sketched once, and this is my second time drawing him. So I'm actually making up his color palette as I go, which is totally fine by me. He's not a main character, he's more of a side character, so he doesn't have to be perfect, you know. But now he has a color palette, because I did this artwork, so now he's got a color palette. I do need to make a character sheet for him. I do not have a character sheet for Harold whatsoever. Like I said, I sketched him once. This is my second time drawing him. Well, third if you want to count the sketch I did in my sketchbook for this pose. But really, it's kind of my second time. Now, going on to the shading, I was actually a little unsure of what to do with my shading. I was like, well, I don't really do nighttime themes. So I kind of was like, man, this color is really, really gray. But I was like, I'm just keep going with it. Maybe it'll work. I'm not the best at color. I'm good at shading, but color, not my strong suit. But I kept going with it, gave him some pretty gray shading. I was a little nervous here at the skin once I oh yeah, I was messing around with it here because I was like, man, is this really gonna work? But more layers I had for the skin, changing it up, you know, adding the orangey that kind of happens when like shadow meets light. For some reason it's like orangey. You can see that a little bit in the reference I have top left. Up mainly on her cheekbone, you see it. There's like that orangey kind of shine right there. That's what I'm talking about. Skin does that. I don't know why it does that, but it does. I'm not gonna question it. It's there. So I did that. Also added the redness. The red is really noticeable. I always make sure there's red on his cheeks, hands, ears, any place where you would see red in real life, in real human skin. I just kind of like the way that looks. But once I got out to about here, I was like, oh, okay, the skin works. So of course I went with the hair. I usually do hair right after skin. I always do skin first. It's like the main thing if this is gonna work or not. And you know what you're thinking? Harold's hair is a little special. It's a little special because I couldn't find a reference for his hair. So if it looks a little wonky, it's completely on me. I mean, of course, it's completely on me. I drew it, but I didn't get a reference for Harold. Maybe next time I draw a side view Harold, it'll look much better. But for now, this is what we have. Fake it till you make it. Just do the shading like I normally would. Make sure the shading looks good. At least the shading looks good, right? But the shading also defines the hair a little bit, so I gotta fake it a little bit. Then I go clothing. Actually, the t-shirt is so satisfying to watch come together. I don't know what it was, but it really started making the piece look nice. Like, I was like, ooh, it's not so bad. I was actually thinking that, man, this artwork is gonna be a total flop. But it actually turns out alright. Once I started doing the clothing, I was like, oh, I'm not doing so horrible. It's going well. Doing metal as well. Metal's not hard. Like, maybe metal for the first time. If you do metal for the first time, it's hard. But like, after you've done metal, it's not so hard. You understand what's going on. I mean, it doesn't follow the same rules as skin or anything like that, of course, but the rules are simple. It's just, it looks a lot more complicated than it really is, metal. So, it looks intimidating, but it's not. I saw one dude explain it, I forget his name. If you're on YouTube, artist that does DC, I think he does DC, the DC artist. He's famous, I can't remember his name. Anyway, he explained metal. The video on here about it. I was like, well, it made sense. I'm not sure if it makes sense to like a beginner, but since I've been on for a little while, I understood exactly what he was saying. But maybe it makes sense. Just depends on your brain, I guess. And around here, I was like, man, one character's done, and then I got all this purple to do. This is fine. Nothing big. I actually kind of prefer when I got one big area to work on at once. Doing one little area at a time gets tedious. So having all this purple at once was nice. Time consuming, but nice. Use references for the suit. So I knew what I was doing with the suit. At least I knew it was the suit. If I messed up his hair, at least I knew what was going on with the suit. So that black and white, I kind of just had black and white over it to make sure my values were right. And then I kind of noticed I forgot to do the lighting on the suit. But I do use the black and white for values. I started doing that recently. It was like the second time I've ever done that to make sure my values are correct. And because I actually use the values things, that's why I darken the background. I'm doing it right here. Right, very annoying going around that circle, but this is where I darken the background a little bit because I didn't like it. Add more blue instead of green. Thought there's too much green in the piece. So the green lighting, green, like, planet or moon. I think it's a planet. I do. Doesn't really look like a moon. It's a planet. Big planet. It's a sci-fi world I'm making, so it doesn't have to make sense, you know? Let's show my values, and we're getting near the end. I hope you guys enjoy the video.